While you're here today, you'll take advantage of all of the activities. I hope you'll see the Cubs memorabilia inside. I hope you'll go downstairs to see the recreation of our original 1907 library, and visit the antique cars in the lots, and visit our bookmobile out on the street. I've just been on the library board about 5 years, and to tell you the truth, I didn't really know too much about the history of the library. And when I was told that I'd have to make this speech, I did a little bit of research on it. I found out about the original library built back in 1907, up where basically our police station is right now. And it was built primarily as a result of a very generous contribution of $5,000 by Andrew Carnegie at that time. Andrew, thank you very much. Stick around after the meeting, Andrew. I got a few things I'd like to talk to you about. I know that our second library was built basically on that same site. Many of you maybe remember it, on the site of the old police station. I found the original accession book, which was the list of all the books purchased in 1907 for the very first library. 700 books were purchased at that time. And believe it or not, I found that we still had one in our collection. This one is book number 103. It was the 103rd book bought for our new library back in 1907. The cost was 94 cents. But some things have changed, yes. The more I thought about it, though, the more I realized that the library is more than about buildings, and it's more than about books, that it's really about people. And I went back and I read the names of some of the first library board members back in 1907, just normal citizens who had an interest in the library and who decided to begin a new library. Names like Henry Weber, Arthur Webster, M.A. Lambert, J.H. Allison, Martin Behrens, and yes, Kate Hood. And I am aware of all the library's trustees who, again, have served down through the years. Again, just good citizens with an interest in preserving the tradition of good library service. In that accession book, I found the names of people who had donated books to the library. And if you're at all aware of some of your displaying's history, some of these names might be familiar to you. Mrs. Jefferson, Mr. Senney, H.H. Talcott, Al Webster, Wallace Kinder, Dr. Earl. I'm aware of the succession of head librarians, or as we call them, library administrators now. And did you know that in the 90 years that our library has existed, we've only had 10 head librarians? You all know our present librarian, Sandra Norlin. Many of you knew her predecessor, Bernie Oppeneer. Some of these names may be familiar to you as I read the names. Prior to Bernie, William Wyman, Louis Klitsky, Alice Smith, Elsie Earle, Mabel Eamon, Neva Holmes, Harriet Cook, and our very first librarian, Sarah Weeks. I'm aware of the debt that we owe to our tremendous library staff, helpful, friendly, professional people who are here to assist you all the time and have always been here. I'm aware of the debt that we owe to the Friends of the Library, an organization who spend a lot of time doing fundraisers, the most notable of which, of course, is the book sale. They constantly raise funds for our library. Our new computer room in the library was made possible as a result of $15,000 raised by the Friends of the Library through their book sale. The Friends are here today. They're offering for sale as part of their fundraiser this 90th anniversary commemorative bag. Speaking of volunteers, we've also benefited from the service of our volunteers down through the years. These are library volunteers, people who come here on a regular basis for no pay and put in hours and hours and hours of work helping us to provide library service to you. One person who exemplifies that spirit of volunteerism here at the library and throughout the town is with us today. Lucille Ness has served as a library volunteer for 22 years. She is the longest serving library volunteer. And her volunteerism isn't just limited to our library. She's also a volunteer at North School. She volunteers at Books for the Blind. She is a retired teacher. Would you join me in welcoming and thanking Lucille Ness? When it comes to the Friends of the Library, I see that one of our most notable friends just joined us, Savina Abi Gorslin. Savina served as a library board member for 32 years. She founded the Friends of the Library organization, and she is our link to the past. This is the very first book of minutes handwritten by the library board members in 1907. In it, I found a reference from the budget for July of 1910, in which the library paid to a Mr. Fred Abi the sum of $12.82 for a flagpole. After this is over, if you get a chance and go out and look at our new flagpole right out there, you'll find that there is a plaque on it in memory of Albert and Harold Abi, given by their sister, Savina. So she is and has been the thread that links us to our original library back in 1907, and I'm so happy that Savina could be with us today. So we have board members and librarians and staff and friends and volunteers, but most importantly we have you, the citizens of Des Plaines, who consistently throughout the 90 years of our history have supported the idea of a library. When you think about it, of all the institutions in town, of all the buildings in town, there is probably no other building which more adequately represents the character of a community than its library, the sense of values of the community. Do you have any idea how many people in Des Plaines have library cards? Any idea at all? 36,340 citizens of Des Plaines have library cards. Last year, you took out 2/3 of a million items, 666,000 items. So this, in every respect, always has been and is and always will be your library, and you should be very proud of it. We thank two civic leaders down through the years who stood up for everything that a good library represents, who were courageous and enlightened in their attitudes towards the library. I want to invite you to the next party we're going to have 10 years from now, in the next century, when we gather to celebrate our 100th anniversary. I'm looking forward to seeing you all again. I'd now like to introduce another true friend of the library, a longtime advocate of everything that a library means, our mayor, the Honorable Paul Jung.
He won't let me use the hat. It is a great privilege as mayor of Des Plaines to be able to participate this afternoon in this official recognition of 90 years of service to our wonderful community. That's an incredible record. I told my father that I was going to be participating in the 90th celebration today. He said that was no big deal because he's going to be 100 in January. But he did say we should look forward to 100, and so with you, I'll look forward to 100. Probably not as mayor. This is such a good city in so many ways. And I think for too long, we've tended to focus on some of the negatives about our city. And so it's wonderful to be able to come together today and focus on one of the many positives, our wonderful library. It isn't just the bricks and mortars, as you know, that make a library. It is the people. It is the dedicated staff. It is the dedicated board. And it is the dedicated volunteers who every day do everything they can to make this the best possible library for us to enjoy. We're very fortunate to have people with this kind of commitment. It's very clear that for any city to be first class, it must have a first-class library, and we do. I was privileged recently to participate here when the United Federation of Doll Clubs had their big inauguration here. What a neat experience that was. I think there were at least 1,500 people here. You couldn't move in the place. And who would ever have thought that many people would have cared that much about dolls? Well, I learned more about them that day than I ever thought I would. Think of what a privilege it is for a city and a library to be selected to have that honor. Just one of many. And I would say this about John Burke. He gives more time than anybody has a right to expect to what I believe is a very low-paying job. John, second only to the mayor and the alderman. He did send me some interesting information today. I told him I was going to talk for about 20 minutes, and he wept. But he did say that some of the first books that were purchased for the original library were written by Mark Twain. And then he sent me this quote from Mark Twain on October 28, 1908, when Mark Twain was the guest speaker at the official opening of the Mark Twain Library in Reading, Connecticut. In his opening remarks, he mentioned to the crowd that his home had been recently visited by burglars. And he said, quote, "If those burglars that broke into my house had broken into this library, they would have read a few books and led a better life. Now they are in jail, and if they keep on, they will go to Congress." When a person starts going downhill, you can never tell where he's going to stop. I don't know why he sent me that quote today, but I'll try not to take it personally. To all of the citizens of Des Plaines who use this facility and who support this facility, I add my thanks, as John did earlier. We are a special city. We are a good city. We are getting to be a better city, and this is one of the reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Jung. It's now my pleasure to introduce our library administrator, Sandra Norlin.
Good afternoon. This program today is made possible in part by a grant from the Illinois Humanities Council, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and the Illinois General Assembly. This library is made possible by the hard work, the dedication, and goodwill of library trustees, other volunteers, staff members, and the people of Des Plaines. All of this dedication stems, whether we realize it or not, from an abiding belief in an ideal called democracy. The library was also made possible by Andrew Carnegie, who acted out of an abiding belief that all persons were capable of improving themselves, and that the tools they needed for this self-improvement should be available to them in free, publicly supported lending libraries. He was born in a weaver's cottage in Scotland in 1835 and grew up in the midst of these weavers. And I'm sure he must have been influenced at a very early age to see that the weavers had pooled their money to buy a collection of books. And then each weaver would take a turn reading aloud while the other weavers worked. This is a reminder, I think, to us from earlier times that the best way to create interest in reading is for children to observe their parents reading. And also that sharing resources is a good way to share in wealth. I'll leave the rest of the story in the hands of our guest artist, who takes on the persona of Mr. Carnegie himself, whom some have called the patron saint of libraries, and others have called, well, I'll leave that to his discretion. All celebrations are planned for two central purposes, thanking and praising. We do it in song, we do it in words, we do it with food, and we do it in community. Today, we celebrate what this powerful service has become because of you and the several generations of you who have built and sustained the Des Plaines Public Library. The importance of a library to a community goes beyond satisfying our daily needs. It is, in the words recently of Pulitzer Prize and Nobel Prize winner Toni Morrison, the library is the superb, the supreme act of truly great civilizations. Of all the institutions that purport to give access to knowledge, free libraries stand virtually alone in accomplishing this mission. No committee decides who may enter. No crisis of body or spirit must accompany the entrant. No tuition is charged, no oath sworn, no visa demanded. Of the monuments that humans build for themselves, very few say, touch me, use me. My hush is not indifference. My space is not barrier. If I, a library, if I inspire awe, it is because I am in awe of you and the possibilities that dwell in you. So come, see, take pride and delight in what you and Mr. Carnegie have done.
We're honored to have our state representative, Rosemary Mulligan, with us. Rosemary, would you come up and say hello?
Thank you. Goes from the ridiculous to the sublime, back to the ridiculous, I guess. I've been fortunate enough to have lived in Des Plaines since 1961 as a young married woman, and for probably about 98% of my adult life. So I've had use of this library for about a little more than a third of its life. When I first moved here as a young married woman, I came and took books out. The latest novel that hadn't come out in paperback, which I couldn't afford to go out and buy in hardback, brought my children here, took out books on how to decorate my house, and as the years progressed, I came back here as I went back to school as a returning student, used the library for things that I needed, certainly encouraged my children to continue using the books, dropped them off here while they were in high school to do their homework. As time has gone on, just recently, I borrowed books here to put in a new patio and take a look at what I wanted without going back out and buying all the books that I needed. And now very soon, although I have a web page on the library's North Star system, I will probably have my own address within the next month or so, because we have a young man from one of the local high schools that's working on that. The library's progressed as a place to take out books, films, art, videos, and now onto the internet. This past year in the General Assembly, and never realizing when I was first here as a young married woman and using the library that I would be called upon to support libraries around the state, and Illinois has one of the best reciprocal library systems in the country. We were called upon to defend libraries in a vote which was called a vote against the obscenity bill, which would have destroyed the reciprocal ability to lend across the state. And for that, my office was picketed, but I felt quite honored to be able to vote to support libraries on the General Assembly, or to vote so that you will receive the money that allowed the program that was just presented to be funded. And I think that's very important. The thing about libraries that are probably the most important, and right up there, is a good library is the quality of your town. A good library foster plants and allows for lifelong learning and goes up there with public schools. And although our library is 90 years old today, and I'm very happy to be here, I have to say to you, along with those 90 years old, the infrastructure in your community gets older, and so there's more calls on tax dollars, and it's harder to support your library because you feel that you're overtaxed. But quite frankly, a good library shows the quality of your town, a place where people would come and buy a home, would be able to further their education, and certainly is a mainstay of the democracy of our country. It levels the playing field for everyone, no matter what your background is. You can come to the library, you can get a book, you can request books from around the state, and you can make yourself the equal of any other person that go out and buy that same book. I think it's very important. I'm pleased to represent this community. I'm pleased to support your library. I'm pleased to vote for it, and I'm very pleased to be here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rosemary. And now for your entertainment, we're pleased to present to you the Maine West Choraliers.
so fun.